In this video, we're going to quickly cover requirements traceability, what it is and when you should use it. There are two primary reasons to trace requirements. The first is focus, meaning making sure you're focused on the right things. And the second is coverage, meaning did I cover everything that I needed to cover? The commonly talked about way to trace requirements or to trace artifacts is a requirements traceability matrix, but it isn't always necessarily the best way to accomplish traceability, which I'll explain as we go along. First, let's go over focus. When I write requirements, the first level of requirements is typically business requirements. These are higher level requirements that typically stem from some business objectives. Depending on the BA or the project, these will likely get broken down into stakeholder requirements, solution requirements, functional requirements, or all of the above. Tracing at this level helps control the scope and keeps the team focused. Once the project starts, people will come out of the woodwork trying to add more features or requirements to the project. Here, the goal is to ensure all new features meet the project's business requirements, which in turn meet the business objectives. In practice, this typically means that for every requirement or user story, you tie it back to the business requirement or feature that it satisfies. A quick non-IT example I like to use often is getting in shape. When it comes to exercise, there's a lot of reasons to work out. Thus, there's a lot of different ways you can work out. It can become very easy to lose track of the original goal in a sea of exercise options. Basically, you have to be able to trace your workout back to your original goal and keep yourself focused on moving towards the right things. In IT, you're normally constrained by either time, budget, or both. So when people recommend or request all kinds of bells and whistles, being able to trace them back to a main objective of what the initiative will help deprioritize unnecessary features and keep everybody focused on what matters. Often you can do a functional decomposition to show how each feature, function, or requirement traces back up to an objective. So now let's talk about coverage. After functional requirements, there may be a few other layers of specifications, but typically test cases trace back to the functional requirements. Here, the goal is to ensure that every functional requirement has a test case to ensure that it gets tested during the testing phase. This concept is much more prevalent in the waterfall methodology, where you're more likely to do huge chunks of development that need to be tested after all the development is complete. In practice, this typically means that you create a matrix in some type of spreadsheet because these things can really grow depending on the size of the project. A traceability matrix typically lists all the test cases as the first column, and then all the columns after that is the requirements that they satisfy. Personally, I find traceability matrices that are maintained in Excel much more trouble than they're worth. First, there's a lot of manual work to keep up to date when you have hundreds of test cases. And second, they don't provide great insight. When I look at a matrix, I can tell that requirement 1 has 2 test cases, but that doesn't really tell me how well those 2 test cases actually test my requirements, only that there are 2 of them. The best case scenario is having a requirements management tool with tracing capabilities. That can just kind of spit out a matrix if you need one, but more importantly, can direct you to specific test cases when you open up a requirement, or direct you back to the requirement when you open up test cases to kind of help you ensure quality. And with a little elbow grease, you can actually create a traceability kind of environment in SharePoint using lists and lookup fields. And if that's something that you guys have interest in, let me know in the comments and I'll create a tutorial for that as well. I know that was short, but I hope that helped. You understand a little bit more about how and why and when traceability is valuable. If you have any additional questions, let me know in the comments and I'll either answer you there or create a whole new video to answer your questions. So subscribe to see your questions get answered, and thanks for watching.